having a conversation with Aamira Chaney, who is a doctoral candidate in the African Studies Department at Howard University. Today we're going to talk to her about her very interesting research, which is on the plight of the Black South African woman. So thank you once again, and welcome to the conversation. So thank you once again for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Mandela died last year, and bless his soul. He fought for a very just cause. He fought for political emancipation, but he also fought for economic emancipation of Black South Africans. And now more than ever, all these conversations, they make you ask the question: is the Black South African better off post-apartheid? What are your thoughts?
That's a very difficult question.
Economically better.
Economically, it's difficult because first of all, there wasn't a lot of data as far as for Blacks in general, as far what they annually made and things of that nature. So it's kind of hard to say what the exact progress is. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, when I conducted my interviews and talked to a lot of women from both the formal and informal sector, many of the women in the informal sector, particularly in the Durban area, said that they're doing worse economically than what they did under apartheid, which blew me away. I didn't expect to hear that at all. So it really does depend on, some areas seem to be harder hit than others. Not unlike in, whether it's the United States or different areas as far as the recession, it hits different areas worse than others, right? So, but generally, whether it was women that were doing very well, which are only, a small percentage, or the majority of women that were at the lower levels economically, they still had the same sort of thing of we're either doing the same or worse, most people. And I was most surprised by women in the formal sector who were doing very well, that were very outspoken for their sisters that were, that are in the lower economic realms, because a lot of times the more successful you become, the more detached you become. You lose touch with the struggles of the everyday person. But they were very much involved in it, and they were very much advocating, even more than these women in the lower economic realms. Mm-hmm. They were advocating for information to be disseminated. That's an issue of the government is writing these really good legislation. Everyone will tell you that it's beautiful legislation. It's written very well.
Enforcement, implementation is low.
It's lacking. There's virtually no real implementation or enforcement, and the dissemination of information to even access different things like grant programs or things like that. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of it because you don't have internet. You don't have you're walking different. You have to take things to the people, and that's not happening. So I would definitely say that that's one of the many issues, aside from keeping things stable. There's been a lot of violent uprisings in townships because people are upset. Mm-hmm. That they were promised the sun and moon when the ANC came to power. Yeah. And like I said, if you're the same as you were or worse, you're going to be upset. Mm-hmm. So these are some of the things, but it's things. Like I said, there's a very small percentage of people that have made it, but the general consensus among the women that I interviewed for both the informal and formal sectors is that basically you need to know somebody to even really get ahead.
Even the BE.
Yeah.
For that too.
Yeah. So there's much that needs to be done. There's all this celebrating of the ANC, but it's really what's been done. Much more. They need to dig in their heels and really get back to the people and ask them, because that was something that the women also reflected to me. They're like, why, I had, because I wanted to speak to women that didn't always speak English. I want to know everyone's opinion, and I traveled throughout the country to do the interviews. Mm-hmm. So things like that, you have to get to the people and ask them what they need. How are you going to help them if you don't know what they need, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been a pleasure for me too.
Great
Thank you.
research.
Great
research.